Today we're going to talk about absolute value equations. So absolute value equations. Absolute value equations. All right, so there's a property, and it's just one property, and that's all we need. So let A be a positive number, and we have the following statement. If the absolute value of x is equal to A, then, well, let's think about this. Let's see if we can figure out the property using our minds. So here's 0, and here's A, okay? The absolute value of x is the distance between x and 0. So we're saying that x is a number whose distance from 0 is equal to A. That means x could either be A, because this distance is A, and there's one other number it could be. It could be negative A. Because if x is a number whose distance from 0 is A, well, there's two choices, A or minus A. So then this means that x is plus or minus A. So whenever you have an absolute value, you can drop it and always put a plus or minus. So let's do an example. Solve the absolute value of x equals 3. We're going to solve this equation for x. So we have an absolute value, and the rule says whenever we have an absolute value, we can just drop the absolute value and put a plus or minus. That's it. Right? Now it's key that you have the absolute value by itself, right, on one side before you drop the absolute value. And again, you can reason this in your mind. We're saying that the absolute value of a number x is equal to 3. So x is a number whose distance from 0 is 3. That means x must be 3 or minus 3. Let's do a harder one. Solve 2 parentheses x minus 1 equals 6. Solution. So before we drop the absolute value, we want to isolate the absolute value. So we'll start by dividing both sides by 2. So we get the absolute value of x minus 1 equals 3. So now we have an absolute value by itself. So we can use our rule. We can drop the absolute value and put a plus or minus. So x minus 1 is equal to plus or minus 3. To finish, we can just add 1 to both sides. So plus 1. Plus 1. So we get x equals 1 plus or minus 3. And now we can break this up into cases. We have x equals 1 plus 3, and then x equals 1 minus 3. So we get x equals 4. That's one answer. And then here we get x equals negative 2. That's the other answer. Let's do one more. Typically when I do these, like if I was doing, say, absolute value x minus 8 equals 7, you drop the absolute value, but what I usually do is I don't put a plus or minus. If I know there's more work involved, I'll do this. X minus 8 equals 7, and then I'll write it again over here. X minus 8 equals negative 7. I prefer doing it this way than putting a plus or minus, but it's up to you how you do it. And then here we just add the 8. So x is equal to 15. And then here we add the 8. Boom, x is equal to 1. I hope that made sense, and in the videos that follow, you'll find more examples. I really hope this helped. That's it.